Hello everyone, welcome to a very special Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and normally this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, and comic books, and today is no different, except for in this very special edition, I'm going to be talking about one thing and one thing alone, Voltron, Legendary Defender, Season 2. I am super excited to talk about it. That's right, I just finished this morning Voltron, Legendary Defender, Season 2, and I gotta say, I loved it. Oh man, you know how I've talked about on the show how as a kid I loved Voltron, Defender of the Universe. So season 1 of Voltron Legendary Defender came out early last year. When did it come out actually? Hold on. Let me check and see. It came out actually in June, so it came out during the summer. So we've gotten 2 seasons now of Voltron Legendary Defender in less than a year. I'm hoping, based on how excited I was when season 2 ended, that we'll get a season 3 before 2017's over, but we'll just have to wait and see. In any event, I want to sit here and talk about Voltron Legendary Defender just a little bit, because if you're not watching the show and you are a fan of good sci-fi animated series, you need to be watching this show. Oh my god, do you need to be watching this show? Now, I may be a little biased, I'm not going to lie, just because I was a fan of the mythology growing up, of course, as a kid. Season 1, I was really all about. I was really excited about it, and it did not let me down. Season 2 stepped it up a notch, continued the storylines, continued the character arcs. We dove a little deeper into the mythology, a little deeper into the characters, and man, it was great. What they've done is they've added so many layers to the original mythology set up in Voltron, Defender of the Universe, and it's just magnificent how it's done. I cannot be more happy with what the creators have done. Please keep doing what you're doing. So as I was watching the season, I was taking a few notes on each episode, so I'm just going to run down the episodes a little bit here. Kind of give some thoughts about it, maybe a little speculation, and you guys fire back on the Facebook group or on Twitter or on the Gmail account. Let me know what you thought as well. Let me know if you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you didn't enjoy it, what your thoughts are on the series as well. So, starting off, episode 1 called Across the Universe. So, at the end of season 1, we saw the Lions, or Voltron, get defeated by Zarkon, just plain old Zarkon. He we learned that he was the original paladin of the Black Lion. He has the Bayard, I think is what they call it, the weapon that they use that also unlocks their special powers of the lion as well. And he just, Zarkon just totally handed the paladins their ass at the end of season 1. Which was good, because it was the first time going against Zarkon, and in every story you have to have that first battle as a defeat, as a learning tool. It comes back and helps them out at the end of season 2 when they face Zarkon again. Now, so we start the season with the lions in the castles. They're going through the wormhole that Hagar has infected, so they're all spread out across the galaxy. So this first episode, Across the Universe, sees Kran and Allura scrambling to break free from the wormhole, but also we see our heroes trying to find their way back. In that, main thing we see is Shiro and Keith. They kind of get stranded together, but Shiro is still injured from the fight with Hagar. That's what I said, Hagar, at the end of season 1. And Keith is unable to operate the Red Lion, but he finds the Black Lion. And kind of the cool thing that we see in this episode is that Keith operates the Black Lion, which is Shiro's lion. Now, in the original series, Defender of the Universe, Keith was the operator of the Black Lion. In this episode as well, Shiro mentions that if he doesn't survive, he wants Keith to be the leader of the Voltron Paladins. Now, this kind of goes and plays into the mythology a little bit, because in the original series, Defender of the Universe, Keith was the main character. He was the leader of the group. He piloted the Black Lion. Lance was the Red Lion. The original, what's his name, Sven, was the original person for the blue line. It was all mixed up. Their colors didn't match their line. This one they do, but as we come to find out at the end of this season, that might not be the case coming up for season 3. So we see that. And then in episode 2, which I don't have a title for because IMDb refuses to show me a title, we see Lance and Hunk get stranded on this water world. And, it's kind of, the episode isn't really great, I guess you could say. We see Pidge stranded on this junk land as well. Those are the kind of two, the other ones we're playing with there. But the episode, I don't think there's anything important that really happens in that episode. I don't even have any notes on it. That's how unimportant that I thought this was. Sure, it's just another filler episode to wrap up what happened to the rest of them, to get them back together at the end of this episode, and to face what is to come. So, not really a big deal for me as far as episode 2. Episode 3, Shiro's Escape. Now, this is where Shiro kind of learns about who his rescuer was, or who broke him free off Zarkon's ship. And it's a guy by the name of Ulyss, which I know I'm mispronouncing that as well. But, he comes to find out who that is and tries to find him. Come to behold, he's on the ship. And he mentions that he's part of a group called the Blade of Mamora, which is a group of, what's the race here? Galaru, which is what Zarkon is. And they're, Galaru that are infiltrated in Zarkon. They're spies in Zarkon's ship that's feeding them information, and they want to try to help Voltron defeat Zarkon. And at the end of the episode, we come to find out that Keith has a knife that is very similar to that Ulyss used. And we're going to find a little bit more about that blade. I never saw the blade beforehand, but it comes to find out that Keith has actually had that blade his whole life, not knowing what it was. And I thought that twist was kind of weird, really, the way it comes up. But I'll talk about that in just a minute. Another highlight of this episode was they finally used the term Robeast. In the original Defender of the Universe, that's what the name of the monster was they fought every week. It's what Hagar made to go try to defeat Voltron. It's the first time in this series that the term Robeast, that Hunk actually named, the first time that it was coined. And it just goes to show that we're still in the origin phases of this series, of this mythology. Given that, everything that happened in the original series, Defender of the Universe, we're still leading up to it here, okay? There's still stuff that's going to happen that might not play out exactly like it did in Defenders of the Universe, but chances are we're leading towards that mythology. Episode 4 of the season was Greening the Cube. It's where the Paladins go to this kind of lush, I want to describe it almost as Pandora, kind of from Avatar, because you see these race of people that are brilliant engineers that kind of use the land to create stuff, and they create these technologically advanced weapons, one of them being a cube that Zarkon's forces are trying to get them to make, and it goes up against Voltron, almost defeats Voltron if it's not for Pidge, who kind of has to learn a little something in this episode. He's this tech junkie, he's into technology, and he has to rely more on nature and kind of understand the symbiote relationship that all things have, both technologically and naturally or spiritually. And he comes to realize his secret weapon. Each line has that secret weapon that they use, their cannons. We see Keith at the beginning of, or the end of season 1, is a giant cannon that he used against Zarkon. Hunk's got his giant cannon. Lance, we find out later on, has a sonic scanner, I guess. And then Pidge is kind of like a plant shooter. It shoots a root and makes a plant grow out of it to help defeat it, which is what defeated the cube. So this was kind of a Pidge, character learning episode, which was fine, but again, it didn't really advance the storyline as far as this season. Episode 5 is called Eye of the Storm, and this is where they come to find out that Zarkon is tracking them somehow, and they don't know quite what it is, which I don't understand, because they learned that Zarkon was the original paladin of the Black Lion, and then of course we know that the paladins and the lions have a bond, so how they didn't figure out right away that Zarkon was tracking him through the Black Line, I thought was kind of stupid, in my opinion. But Keith and Allura go out thinking that they might be the one that Zarkon is tracking. Zarkon shows up anyway. Turns out it's not them. So they come back, they defeat Zarkon, they get away, etc., etc. But also it's kind of an episode where Allura and Keith get a little closer. Also, in the original mythology, Defender of the Universe, Keith and Allura actually get together romantically. Now, I think this episode, their relationship in this episode sets up the conflict that is to come in episodes after this. But again, I think it's playing into there might be a possible romance budding between Allura and Keith in future episodes or future seasons. Okay, the next episode, let's see here, called The Art of Tajir, episode 6. You know what? I apologize, guys. This was the one where Allura and Keith went off by themselves. Sorry. But another thing we learned from this episode was that the Red Lion, that Keith was kind of in trouble or signaled to the Red Lion, and from a long, distance, that the Red Lion was able to sense and rescue Keith, that learned that he was in trouble. So that was something really cool. We learned that, of course, in episode 8, which was when he goes through the trials of Mamora, where again it senses that Keith is in trouble and it comes to him. So that really shows the bond that Keith has with his lion. Now, episode 7, Space Small, again, not really a great episode, where the Paladins go to try to get more of the energy circles, disc, whatever, from this futuristic mall. It was entertaining and funny, but whatever. But the real story of that was Shiro trying to deepen his relationship with the Black Lion, his connection with the Black Lion, to try to separate Zarkon's connection to the Black Lion as well. And he did that. He found Zarkon on this astral plane and battled him for their connection to the Black Lion. And this is kind of pivotal, really, for the rest of the season, because when Shiro wins, it kind of sets Zarkon on edge and sets in motion his uneasiness for the rest of the season, which almost leads to his ultimate defeat. So that's really the main thing you got from this episode. And you also learn exactly kind of what was going on as far as what the lions are made of. I guess you come to find out that at least the Black Lion was made from an old comet, that Allura's father helped build the Black Lion. I know he helped build all of Voltron, but he did it along with Zarkon too. I think there's a story there about the King's and Zarkon's relationship, which I'm sure we'll get in later seasons. But it goes to my question a little bit more, is I want to know more about how he was able to build Voltron. What went into building Voltron? Well, did Zarkon have a hand in it? That's why he is so deeply connected to the Black Lion and Voltron. I don't know, but I really hope we get more of that mythology and that storyline in upcoming seasons. Now, the next episode 8, was The Blade of Mamora, which was a good episode. It was a Keith episode, and one thing about this season I noticed was this was a very Keith-centered season. Starting from the beginning with him and the Blade and finding out about his ancestry and his past. He comes to find out that he is part Gulra. That's why he has the Blade. His mother was Gulra. And I want to know more about that storyline as well. Is he ever going to find his mother? What happened to her? Why was he on Earth? How come he never knew about this? These are questions, of course, I'm sure they're going to answer, but it leaves us, as of right now, at the end of Season 2, craving more of it. And Keith in this season, like I said, Season 1, I felt front and center was Shiro. He was the leader. He was the one with the mysterious past. As far as what happened to him when he was imprisoned by Zarkon, you got to learn more about that. This is kind of the same thing with Keith in season 2, where now we know he's Golra, but he's just figuring out his ancestry. So now as he wants to know what all happened, why, with his father and his mother and all that, we want to know more as well. So I think this season very much was Keith was front and center, which might possibly be setting us up for a season 3 where Keith does become that leader of the Voltron Paladins, like we see in the original series, Defender of the Universe. Episode 9 in this season was The Belly of Weblum, where the Paladins split up to gather kind of resources to take out Zarkon. This is kind of playing in the part of a couple episodes, or the next couple episodes, where they all split up trying to do their part and getting ready for this big battle against Zarkon at the end of the season. Now, Hunk and Keith travel to this planet-devouring style creature where they have to get something, and in it, Hunk is kind of asking Keith questions about him being part Galra, and kind of getting to the heart of that matter. The main thing I took away from this episode was that look before they left, where was Keith and Allura gave each other this look. Allura has no love for anyone Galra because they're working for Zarkon and she doesn't trust them. She believes all Galra are bad. She doesn't even trust the group Blade of Memora as well. And the fact that we now learn that Keith has Galra blood in him makes her not trust him as well. And in a couple episodes later, when she thanks Hunk for bringing back the resources that they need, Hunk was like, hey, Keith helped me too, and she didn't even acknowledge it. Now, again, I think that's playing into further along when they are going to have a little bit of a budding romance between those two. I can definitely see that happening. All this is playing into the bigger storyline, which is something, again, I like about this series, where they're taking the mythology, everything we basically know about Voltron from the first series, Defender of the Universe, adding layers to it, drawing it out a little more, making it more complex for a modern time. Love it. The next episode, which is episode 10, is the Escape from Beta-Tres. That's where Lance, Pidge, and Shiro go to infiltrate the facility to try to free an inmate who's going to help them in their big plan against Zarkon. Now, I will kind of give it to them a little bit. They kind of are a bit of a copycat when they did this little space jump with Pidge and Shiro. Immediately we all know that's taken out of Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams' recent interpretations in the two ones. That's immediately took me out of it. Star Trek, I get it. It's not that big of a deal, but it was a totally copycat of J.J. Abrams. They totally got the idea from there. I know they did, but it's space. You got to send some guys from one ship to another. It's the logical thing to do, so I really can't blame them for taking that idea, because it was a good idea and just running with it. Also in this episode, let's see some of the highlights. Of course, we learn of Lance's special power for his line, which is the sonic scan. We see Pidge, when he plugs into the network, he's actually still looking for his family, still looking for his brother, Matt. So we see that as well. And the main thing I had, with this episode is I totally forgot, where's Rover at? Pidge's little, robot that he reprogrammed to help him out. I totally didn't even think about it till I saw the other Rover-esque machines on Zarkon's ship. Where did Rover go? I don't remember him ever being destroyed or anything like that. Is he still on the ship and Pidge just doesn't have time to talk to him or doesn't have use for it? I don't know. I'd like to know what happened to Rover. Maybe he'll come up in season 3. But this episode also gave me a little bit of thought as well as far as Lance. One thing about season 1 was I felt like you had the Shiro storyline with him figuring out his past. You had Pidge's storyline about trying to find his family. You even had Hunk's storyline about trying to help out the Balmera. Keith and Lance in season 1 were kind of left out of a character arc. Lance was just there for jokes. Keith was there just in passing as kind of a brooding, hothead, so to speak. Season 2, like I said, you've got more Keith. That's his character arc, which is great. Lance has yet to have a good character arc, just besides being a smart mouth, jock or whatever you want to call him, the jokester almost. I'd like to see him get a actual storyline, something where he can actually take something seriously. In the original series, Lance was actually one of my favorites. I mean, yeah, you had Keith, who was cool, but Lance was more my style just because he was in blue, and I like blue, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'd like to see in Season 3, let's play up some more Lance. Hopefully he gets some more character arc. Hopefully he grows as a character as much as the other paladins and the other characters have. Episode 11 was Staying Alive. That's when Allura travels back to the Balmera to try to get a giant crystal to help them, again, in their plan to defeat Zarkon. Not really, again, anything big happened in this episode. The original Robeast that they were fighting in Season 1 actually woke up, so she had to call the Paladins back to form Voltron to defeat it. Not that big of a deal. Nothing really, I think, character-wise really developed in this episode. It was really kind of the calm before the storm, because the next 2 episodes are the big episodes that are leading to the end of the season. Episode 12, Best Laid Plans, is when all the previous episodes of the Paladins and everyone gathering things to help in their final battle against Zarkon is kind of coming to fruition. And we find out that they're going to try to wormhole Zarkon's ship. They're going to dismantle it, use a wormhole to jump it millions of light years away to where Zarkon it'll take him forever to get back, so to speak. And most notably, note I took in this episode was the talk between Allura and Keith, where Allura kind of apologized to Keith about giving him the cold shoulder for him being part Galra. That's great. Also in this episode, we find out the Galra spy from Blade of Memora has been found. Hagar's interrogating him. So he was supposed to shut down Zarkon's ship. He was unable to do so. So Keith sacrifices himself to go to try to shut off Zarkon's ship. Again, another highlight of this is very much a Keith season. It's where he takes more of a front and center role and grows as a character, and I think it's all more of a setup for season 3, where, spoiler alert, the loss of Shiro does make him more of the leader, becoming the leader of the Voltron Paladins. So at the end of this episode, they were able to jump Zarkon across light years or whatever, all by itself, along with the ship, the I guess it's all called the Castle of Lions. I mean, really, they just call it the ship, but the original name in Defender of the Universe was Castle of Lions. I don't think they just call it anything but the ship. And then Voltron in this as well. So Voltron goes out and starts wreaking havoc on Zarkon's ship, trying to destroy it. And that leads us to our final showdown in episode 3, the last episode of the season. Oh my God, was it a good one. I was on pins and needles this whole episode, just not knowing what's going to happen, because if this were a movie, I would say yes, the bad guys are going to lose and the good guys are going to win. But it's not. It's a TV show, and given the fact that we are pretty much guaranteed a season 3, you got to leave us on a cliffhanger, and usually cliffhangers are bad, which means the heroes are in trouble. So I could see the end of the season not really panning out too well for the Voltron Paladins. So I didn't know how this one was going to go, but Zarkon gets inside his own kind of Robeast machine that is uber powerful, because Hagar is able to steal the quintessence or the essence of Voltron and channel that to power Zarkon's Robeast. And Voltron has to, the guys have to pull deep and, reactivate Voltron before they get destroyed by Zarkon. And along with that, while they are fighting Zarkon, we see Allura and the other members of the Blade of Memora go into the ship and try to defeat Hagar. I'm never going to say that right, I swear. So we see that happen. Hagar, and Laura, that was a great fight because from season 1, when we saw Allura basically bring the Balmera planet back to life, we knew that her powers were something special, that she had some kind of spiritual power. And then we saw in this one where Hagar was using her magic against Allura, okay? And we come to find out that Hagar is actually Altean, which is the same race as Allura. So from there, it clicked to me that, okay, Allura can do kind of this magical spiritual stuff, and so can Hagar. But Allura's looks like it's kind of like the good magic, and Hagar's looks like it's the bad magic, like light side, dark side kind of thing. That was very interesting. I think that's a very important part going forward for Allura, is you see all this stuff that Hagar can do. I have a feeling Allura is going to do the same stuff. She's going to become a powerful sorceress, so to speak, much like Hagar, but kind of on the good side of things. But in that as well, Hagar hit Allura with a lot of her mojo. I'm wondering if all that bad mojo is going to affect her in a bad way. Maybe we get a little dark side Allura going on. Maybe not anytime soon. I don't know. It's just a theory, but we see that I think Allura can be a much more powerful character that can rival Hagar, and I think the meeting between those two is not done. I think that's going to be a big conflict going forward, and we'll see that go on probably throughout the series, at least for season 3. Okay, end of the episode. Phenomenal. Sorry. Zarkon is beating up on Voltron. He's got them separated. And Shiro, who has been fighting with Zarkon most of the season for control of the Black Lion, finally, does something where, I don't know what happened. It's through magic, of course, where he goes through Zarkon and gets the Bayard, the weapon. He finally gets the Black Bayard, which he's been missing the whole series so far. And he uses that to activate the special weapon on the Black Lion, which, as we know, there are 2 special weapons for each lion. There's the special weapon they have when they're just in lion form, and the special weapon they have when they're part of Voltron. When they're part of Voltron, Keith forms the sword, Lance forms the cannon, and we come to find out that the Black Lion, their special weapon when in Voltron form, is the Blazing Sword. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The whole series, I was waiting. Whenever they form the sword, Shiro would say, "Form sword." And in the original series, Defender of the Universe, it was "Form Blazing Sword." And I'm like, okay, well, it's a different series, whatever. That's not the classic line, but that's fine. But boom! They laid a blazing sword on us. From now on, whenever they say form sword, it better be form freaking blazing sword. I'm going to get psyched for that. That got me pumped. I was so pumped for that. But after defeating Zarkon, boom, his Robies goes into space, gets destroyed, but that also separates all the lions. Now, Keith and Pidge go to grab the Black Lion, bring him back, but when they get inside the Black Lion, Shiro is gone. No idea what happened to him. Okay? Now, this feeds into the mythology again of the original series, Defender of the Universe, where you had the 5 space explorers who turned into the Voltron Force. Keith, Pidge, Hunk, Lance, Sven. Sven gets injured, and Princess Allura takes over as one of the piloting one of the lions. Okay? Now we have one of our guys, Shiro, who was not in the original series, missing, and they can't form Voltron without that 5th pilot. So here's my prediction, is again, we're building towards that original mythology I talked about, where Keith was the original pilot of the Black Lion. So I think Keith is going to take up that leadership role. He's going to pilot the Black Lion, and then Allura is going to take over either the Red Lion, or in the original series, she was the blue lion, and then Lance could switch over the red. I don't know how it's going to happen. I think that Keith is going to step up to the black lion, and Allura is going to take over the other lion. So the question is, what happened to Shiro? I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. I know he's not gone for good. They wouldn't take out the character like that. I said before the season started, I really liked Shiro. He was kind of the main character in season 1. So he's also an interesting character as far as his backstory and what he brings to the group. So I don't want to see him gone completely. Plus, they wouldn't take him away. He's somewhere out there. He's lost. He's picked up by Zarkon. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But the last thing, again, something I was questioning before this season started was the character known as Prince Lotor. In the original series, Lotor was Zarkon's son who had this infatuation with Allura, and his whole motivation for defeating Voltron so that he could marry Allura. I've been waiting for them to mention him the entire time, and at the end, Zarkon looks like he's on his deathbed, and Hagar comes out of the room and says, "Bring me Prince Lotor," and I flipped out. I'm like, yes! Next season, our villain is going to be Prince Lotor while Zarkon's recovering. Boom. Yeah, it was just everything. It was everything. The mythology is building to that point. Remember what I said, guys. You got Keith coming up to the Black Line. You got Prince Lotor coming to into the show. They're all building towards what we know happened in the original series, Defender of the Universe. Now, I don't want everything exactly to happen the exact same way, but I think it's going to be awesome. Yes. Okay. I think that's it, guys. Whenever, I know I lasted a little long time, and I'm sorry, but I had to get this out because I was so excited. I've been trying to finish this season all weekend. I watched the first episode Friday morning, and I worked all weekend, so I was just really trying to get this out. Finally did. I love the way it ended. I cannot wait for season 3. Your turn. Let me know what you think of season 2. Let me know your predictions, comments. What episodes did you not like? Who's your favorite paladin? Who you rooting for? Okay, I like Shiro. This season, of course, made me root for Keith. I like Lance because he's funny. But yeah, let me know who your favorite paladin is. I will tell you this now, that this morning I got in my black GMC Terrain. It's probably the biggest car I've ever drove in my life, and it's black. So my new nickname for it is the Black Lion. That's right, it is the Black Lion. It's my nickname for my car now. So, all right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for me for now. Hit me up, Facebook group, Twitter, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought of Voltron Legendary Defender. Any other questions you have for me or anything you want to chat, I want to talk about this. Somebody out there who I know, please message me, text me, let me talk about this with you. I'm dying to talk more theories, okay? Let me know. All right, until next time, guys, may the Force be with us all.